Good afternoon, everybody. What do you think this number represents? It represents the number of working holiday visas issued by Japan in 2014. Then what do you think this number represents? This number represents the number of working holiday visas issued to the Japanese in the same year. Clearly, there are more people leaving Japan than entering under this visa program. Over the last 40 years, the Japanese government has signed working holiday agreements with 23 different countries, out of which 22 have been classified as high-income economies by the World Bank. So, it is safe to assume that people from these countries would not really think of moving abroad for a job only for the sake of money. If we want to attract them to Japan, we have to provide them something more than money. Allow me to take you 200 kilometers north from Tokyo to the coastal prefecture of Fukushima. With a population of 1.84 million people, it is famous for its delicious kitakata ramen, the Edo-style thatch roof housing in Ouchijuku, and the paper mache dolls, that's the akabeko. Believe me, it is one of the best places I have been to in Japan. But what do you find when you search for Fukushima on the internet? It is this: the 2011 nuclear disaster. All the beauty and charm of Fukushima is lost in this. Tourism numbers fell down to a record low. More and more locals started moving out of Fukushima to bigger cities like Tokyo and Sendai. Between 2014 and 2019, even the Japanese working age population shrank by more than 4 million people, making recovery in disaster-affected areas very difficult. So let me ask you a question. What percentage of companies in Fukushima do you think reported labor shortage after 2011? More than 30%? More than 50%? More than 70%? The answer is 70.5%. Shocking, right? It is at this moment I wondered if there is a way to promote the working holiday visa program, but at the same time mitigate the challenge of labor shortage and revitalization of the disaster-affected region. At that time, I conceived the idea Fukushima from You. And this program actually is divided in 4 stages, or 4 Ps as I like it: promotion, preparation, prosecution or execution, and propagation. At first, how do we reach out to the foreigners about this program? We can contact the local travel agencies, the consulate generals and embassies of Japan where there are already working holiday agreements. We can also reach out to the local high schools and universities to attract the young people between the ages 18 and 25. In fact, when the Fukushima government used these 2 channels, they could attract 3,000 more Australian tourists in one single year for its ski program. Finally, we would use the JET alumni network for promotion. The JET program is actually a great program where so many foreigners have come to Japan and taught English in schools. But a lot of these foreigners are not really trained in education and teaching. Under our initiative, they can choose a work where they're already skilled at and get both experience and money. The next is preparation. Once they arrive in Japan, they really have to face the problem of communication. At that time, we really need to provide them with some Japanese language training. We would give them 100 hours of Japanese language training, 4 hours a day, over 25 days, spread over 2 months, and the applicants can actually choose the classes depending on the Japanese levels. The total cost of this would be 70,000 yen per applicant. Next is the dream tour, where we would take the applicants to companies which are facing labor shortage, and also to those companies which were established after 2011 as a sign of economic recovery in Fukushima. If the company chooses the applicant and the applicant also chooses the company can pay us a referral fee and the applicant can pay us 20,000 yen for a 2-month matching process. Finally, there is a My Fukushima initiative which focuses solely on the holiday aspect of the visa. We would be organizing cultural events such as calligraphy, kokeshi doll making, akabeko doll painting, We would also find opportunities for these foreigners to participate in local festivals, because the local festivals also are under crisis as many locals are moving out of the small towns and villages. In this way, we can help in preserving the culture and heritage of these small areas. We would also have networking events where the foreigners would be able to meet company executives regularly so that they can plan out the future long-term career in Japan after the visa ends. All of this, these three together, would cost 120,000 yen per applicant. But do you know what is the good point? They do not have to pay anything, absolutely nothing, until they start working on the job. Now you would be asking, what job? Where will they live? What kind of work would they do? We will also assist in finding apartments and guarantors. Actually, I spoke to some real estate agents in Fukushima who told me that the living cost in Fukushima is 85,000 yen per month. The potential companies I spoke to said that an 8-hour job for 40 hours on weekdays can get a working holiday worker 120,000 yen per month. That means in a 10-month period, the applicant can actually save up to 300,000 yen, which is enough to pay for our expenses, their flight tickets, and their own personal expenses. On the weekends, they can have the cultural activities, tourism, and networking events. They can work in fruit orchards like this. They can plant, grow, and harvest some of Fukushima's most delicious fruits, apples, cherries, and peaches. Or they can work in the hospitality sector, like in Tsuchiyo Onsen, where they can work as a cleaning staff, kitchen staff, or reception staff. These places of popular tourism can be converted to places of potential employment because both these areas are facing a labor shortage as younger Japanese do not want to work in remote areas for longer periods of time. Now you would be wondering, are foreigners actually okay with this idea? So I conducted a survey with 80 different foreigners and I spoke to them. 56% of them said they would like to work in a smaller town which would give them a contribution sense to the disaster-affected community over a larger town which gives them only a higher salary. But when I asked them, would you work in Fukushima? They said only 24% actually agreed to it. So that is when I put the proposal that if there is a program like Fukushima From You initiative to actually assist you and a dedicated initiative to help you, would you now work in Fukushima? And the numbers doubled to 48%. I also spoke to the locals. Actually, the people at the Maruse Orchard and Tsuchiyo Onsen are very optimistic that such an idea would invite more foreigners to come to Japan, work, and live. I also spoke to the Fukushima city and prefectural government. They are also optimistic that such initiative would help in attracting more foreigners to work in Fukushima. This brings us nearly to the end, the propagation, because it just doesn't stop in Fukushima. It can be translated to other disaster-affected regions, such as the recent Typhoon Hagibis in Chiba or the Kumamoto earthquake in 2016. Such initiative would help in greater economic recovery and at the same time provide a sense of purpose and fulfillment to the foreigners working there. It is a win-win situation for both. For the foreigners, they can get a job experience, they can earn money, save it, they can learn a new language, culture, and also they can get a sense of purpose for contributing to the economy and the community. For Fukushima, they can get agents to mitigate the effects of the disaster. It's a chance for them to multiculturalize and internationalize, and importantly, to create a positive image about this beautiful prefecture in the global community. It is very well known that when an employee in any place starts thinking that their work would actually bring a positive change on the community, they would be more self-motivated to work on it. Because that is the essence of our living. We can only rise by lifting others. And Fukushima is the first step in this entire process. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Banerjee. And now we'll go to the judges for questions.
So you spoke about two kinds of works, two kinds of jobs that the applicants could do, right? The fruit orchards and, for example, working in onsen. Given concerns that people may have about radioactivity in water, in food, how do you propose you could tailor the program so that foreigners would still be interested in coming to Fukushima? Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. Actually, that was also one of the first initial concerns I had. But I verified the data from the government and the people that, first of all, the radiation in Fukushima is sometimes actually lower than a place like New York or Singapore. And the exclusion region where people can't enter is excluded for everybody. And that is less than 0.01% of the area of Fukushima. So all of this information would surely be told in the promotion that why Fukushima is not as what you think. Because they will have about 2 months before they find the job and start working. When they meet the companies and network, they would really understand what it is the current situation is right now, and that radioactivity is not really a concern in Fukushima now. Thank you so much.
Concrete and clear, realistic ideas. I'm very impressed because I was born and raised in Fukushima Prefecture. And my question is very simple. Still, Fukushima people suffered from harmful rumor even after 8 years of the disaster. How do you remove this harmful rumor to promote the Fukushima to the world?
Okay, so I understand that your question is about the local people in Fukushima. Yes, that's true. Actually, it's sad that some of the highest quality of peaches in Fukushima are still 15% cheaper than any other peaches in Japan. But that, I do believe, would require a lot of communication, and it's not a one-step solution. We really have to use, like for example, if the foreigners are coming to Fukushima and they're seeing they're working, they're communicating with the locals and telling their observations, I think that would lead to a word-of-mouth effect and making them confident that yes, the world is not afraid of them anymore and it's normal.
Thank you. And your presentation was very concrete and well thought out. But I have one question. Given that some applicants have to take Japanese courses before entering the job, and also the working holiday will be 1 month, 1 year maximum, do you think it is possible that those foreigners get into the job and really be the practical labor?
Thank you so much for the question. I think you're just concerned about the amount of Japanese you're learning and the amount of Japanese you would be using in work. Actually, the number 100 hours comes from my own personal experience because I did not know Japanese when I came here. And in Tohoku University, we have 90 hours of Japanese lessons, which was enough to actually give a basic conversation level Japanese skills. So I do believe that, yes, it's enough, but there are cases when students don't learn fast enough. And I think we would be focusing extra on them so that they are well prepared for the job they would be entering into.
Thank you very much.
I have one question. Did you come up with any risks when you carry out this program, such as does Japanese government really issue more visa when you carry out this program and try to bring all foreigners to Fukushima Prefecture?
So thank you so much for your question. So actually, according to the working holiday visa on the rules and regulations by the government, there are some countries where there are limits. But countries like Australia, there are absolutely no limits for the number of people applying for the visa. So there is particularly no limit itself. The only future risk could be, what if once Fukushima develops and there is a problem of more people coming than actually required? That would require future regulations and the other circumstances would be there. But for now, I don't think that a number of foreigners coming would actually be a problem in the working holiday program.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Banerjee, for an excellent presentation.
ありがとうございました。